Mr. James Sutliff, welcome to the Rut. I'm so excited about this one. I cannot thank you enough for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm very good. Happy.
Yeah? How's lockdown treated you? But I imagine it's been quite frustrating given that you've not been able to do as much hands-on work with the clients you do amazing work with, and we'll go into that later. But what's
Yeah,
it been how's it been like for you?
I've actually found the second lockdown a lot harder,
Yeah.
a lot more frustrating because, yeah, how they've gone about it with sitting gyms and I had my hands on coaching. It's I absolutely love and miss doing that. So I found the second lockdown a lot harder. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
harder.
And do you know what? I have as well. I really enjoyed the first one. I think probably
Yeah,
the weather was brilliant,
yeah,
um, and it was all very novel. Like
yeah,
the amount of time I got to spend with Abby, my partner, was amazing. And do you know what? We really slowed down. We were taking walks in Richmond Park every day, and now it's just a bit shit.
yeah. I,
So yeah,
yeah,
this is we're speaking at a timely time at the moment, James, because I am fortunate enough to follow your Instagram page, and it is one of the most remarkable places of human, I suppose, endeavor, spirit, and inspiration that you could genuinely ask for when times are tough. And I think your Instagram page and your story puts things massively into perspective. Um, how do you cope with the reaction to it? Because you've got almost 50,000 followers now,
yeah.
and you're one of the leading lights in disability with regards to your condition, which is dystonia, and we'll come on to dystonia in a second. But like, what's Instagram been like for you?
Uh, at the start, it was a hard thing to get started because when I first started the Instagram, I was undiagnosed. So really, nobody got me in what I was trying to do. And over the years,
Yeah,
I've kept at the Instagram. It's grown and grown and grown. And it has been an amazing platform for me to share what I do, my disability, and the coaching I do with the disabled community.
how many messages do you get a week saying you're a leading inspiration? Because I bet it's overwhelming. I imagine.
Yeah, I get a gift few, and with them kind of messages,
Yeah,
I do reply to everyone.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right. You have one of the most extraordinary stories I've probably read about since I've been starting this podcast. Which I launched it in May, and we've done quite well since then, with hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people now listening, week in, week out. Um, Tell me what happened, because before that May bank holiday, which you're going to explain in your own words, in
Yeah,
2008, you
yeah,
were a plumbing engineer,
yeah,
you were a semi-professional rugby player,
yeah,
and you were earning good money. You had a career set up.
yeah,
You were 24 years old, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about what life was like as James Sutliff before that May Bank holiday in 2008.
Life is good. Life is perfect. I had it's good, fantastic. I had no issues. I was healthy. I was young. I had a good career, business, playing a good standard of rugby. Everything was going perfect.
Everything was going perfect. It's amazing.
Yeah. It was, there had no issue. I had only one parent, but that wasn't an issue. Everything is going just perfect. And at that time of my life, there's no issues at all. None at all.
You met your wonderful wife, who I've seen on YouTube a few times now, having researched your story, Samantha. You met her 6 months before that May Bank holiday.
Yes.
How did you meet her?
So I met her through friends. So she knew me. Then we became good friends. And then not really, it turned into
It turned into love.
Marriage, yeah.
Love at first sight or not?
Yeah.
Good answer. I mean, she will 100% hopefully listen to this.
She scares me.
Yeah. Okay. Then we get to the most remarkable part of your, I think, well, one of them actually remarkable parts. The other remarkable parts, what happened after this. But May Bank holiday, 2008.
Yeah.
What happened?
So really quick, have really stressed speech that a lot worse than this. Not the speech has improved so much since then.
Really?
A lot.
Wow.
My speech then was horrendous, and I found it hard to eat.
Wow.
So
you sorry to interrupt, but you say you woke up. You'd been out for a big night out, right?
No, not only a few drinks, nothing too heavy, just a standard night, not late, yeah.
Wow. So you woke up, slurred speech. I can't believe it was worse than that. It's extraordinary. And you had absolutely no idea what was going on.
No idea. And me being me as a man, I left it a few days thinking it will go back to normal. Nothing changed. So I went to the hospital after 3 days. I had passed them. Yeah.
What was running through your mind that morning? Because to be honest, if your speech was that slurred, the natural reaction is probably that you might have had a stroke, right?
Yeah.
Were you must have been worried, right?
Yeah. At first, I wasn't. I thinking it would actually go back to normal.
Really?
But I had a laughing in then, but
Very clearly it didn't. Yeah, we're 12 years on. Genius. So, what tests did they do at the hospital?
CAT scans, everything.
And they had absolutely no idea what this was.
Everything came back as clear.
Really?
Yeah.
That's extraordinary. And what was the aftermath? I mean, it was so 3 days in. You've gone to the hospital. You've had CAT scans, MRIs, X-rays. They've all come back clear. They're all normal. The speech doesn't go back to normal though.
No,
Like,
no.
what was the impact on you early on? Because it's you say in your own words it began to worsen as well.
After a year, it started to affect my hands. So
Right.
on my left hand, my thumb is carved inwards.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
extraordinary.
In my hand.
And could you feel that going? Was it literally
I,
you could
I started getting worse and worse over time, and I let him. Yeah.
is that permanent?
Yeah, it is now. I have moved it a little bit, but
Yeah, wow, look at that. It's extraordinary.
yeah. And then that hand like that.
And I it's difficult to know the words really. I'm normally quite good with words. Um this started and I want to know what was going on in your mind because obviously this podcast is about men's mental health, right? But
Yeah.
to be honest with you, the reason why we're recording is because your journey after that day in May in 2008 has been one of the most amazing to watch for the people who've been able to watch it. But for you, you've gone through loads of shit with this.
Yeah.
And mentally it's been really, really difficult.
Yeah. It has.
So the preceding days, give me a bit of insight into like what you were thinking in those days after, and when you began to realize this was kind of going not going the way you thought it'd be going.
I was in the head. I was every time it would get better. The things then every time I knew I couldn't do the work I was trained in, that mentally got me because now that I don't have to lose my career
As a plumber.
and business, I found it hard. There, and then they have to go that I found that hard in Camden, knowing that I might lose everything. I found that hard. Not, I didn't find my disability hard. I found losing everything harder.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that scared me thinking, what next?
Why? Because from the outside world, like myself, other people will be listening to this and hopefully watching this and be like, the change overnight from somebody who was semi-professional rugby player, who is one of the lads, can talk normally, to then basically almost losing your speech and your ability to use your hands properly. That in itself is something which would knock many a man back.
Yeah. In fact, I admit, I adapted to it because
You adapted to it.
I have to.
Yeah.
I witnessed my mum die young of cancer, and that made me mentally stronger to accept my own issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds, I know that might sound ridiculous, but seeing that my own mother goes through cancer like that, I found it in my head after that I feel about raising me.
Mm.
I've only lost the feet and the hands. It is what it is. I know I think like that, but I have that are about raising me.
That's amazing. It puts everything into perspective, really. Do you mind if we go into your mum? Was she what was she like as a person? I mean, you're
Hard lady.
really
Hard, and yeah, she made me.
what what she what cancer did she fight?
The hunter.
And like what effect did that have on you?
I think in the end, it was, and she died in the end, it was a blessing.
Right.
She's in that much pain, and she's dying. In the end, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
So, and that something that's murdered, and you see it firsthand, then you understand how it's no way of life. So it made me, seeing that, it just made me stronger.
Mm.
And she's a hard, in the end, she's a hard lady, so hard. I'm not her in everything. Yeah.
uh, um. Wow, she sounds brilliant. I mean, but she's clearly you talk about her saying she's a hard lady, right? But she's instilled in you this resilience.
Yeah, definitely.
From it looks like, because for anybody who's just lost their speech or not lost it fully, but it's dramatically impaired, and also the use of parts of his hands, that would be incredibly difficult. And this has gone on for 9 years, right? It's obviously got a lot easier as you've gone, but your condition hasn't ever been treated per se. There's no treatment plan, is there?
So basically, I is under the neurologist in Leicester.
You know, the neurologist in Leicester.
Useless,
Yeah.
absolutely useless.
Useless.
They, they let me down so much. So,
Why?
it's in the head, it's facing it, it's in the head. And it's not the take that, so you can claim I got transferred to London. I was under the neurologist in London. I finally got diagnosed after 5 years.
That's amazing.
And I knew it wasn't in the head. So,
Explain to everybody what dystonia is.
Dystonia is a neurological movement disorder. There's no cure that they have. They have Botox injections. That's the only treatment there is.
And what does the Botox do?
It hurts for me. It hurts the lats, the muscles. So I had it in the chin,
Yeah.
neck, hands, and forearms.
So sorry, it helps to relax the muscles.
Yeah.
So in essence, are your muscles constantly clenched?
But I don't have no Botox in a year and a half because I'm having treatment on my TMJ. So I have treatment in LA now, in America.
Oh,
Now,
sorry, go on.
yeah,
Yeah, what is that? So it's like almost like a bridge. For people who are listening to this, there's like it looks like a gum shield type bridge.
it has to eat and rhyme my jaw. I have cat scans in LA, not on the head, I have it here.
On the jaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that showed on the left side, my issues are in here.
So that CAT scan showed that on the left side of your jaw,
Yeah.
it's changed.
Yeah, my TNJ joint is damaged in here.
But is that and what's that caused from?
With this.
What, dystonia?
Yeah, the things that I was born with a defect in my jaw, and then over the years, I've came rugby and getting hit. It's caused my dystonia.
But that's not so. Okay, so let's just roll this back a second. So what you're claiming there, well, not claiming, but what you're describing there is that you were born with a defect, right, in your jaw,
Yeah.
and then through the process of playing rugby and repeated hits,
Yeah.
you have dystonia has, I suppose, been born, and it's a neurological disorder in the brain.
Yeah, that's the issue now. The TNJ is treated here to not end the NHS. They think it's linked. But in America, they think it's linked. So
Two concussions
they're hit in the jaw.
in the jaw. Really? Wow. But that doesn't explain the hands.
It's a linked. So the nerve linked. Nerve.
Oh, it's the nervous system, right? Okay. Yeah. Wow. Oh, wow. That's extraordinary.
I only learned this last year.
Last year. What was that experience like of learning more about your disability? Because it is there's very little out there about this.
Yeah. To hear this, to hear that, and have some answers, some solid answers, there's just the relief to me. Mentally, to hear that, it was such a relief to hear.
Really? Why?
It's a more closure. Yeah.
Closure.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you talk to me about how, because there's going to be people listening to this who really can't quite wrap their head around how you how you've dealt with the change in your life. I know your attitude is that it's just get on with it, which is the best attitude to have because you're living that life and it gives hope to dystonia fighters out there too. But for the people who are thinking, well, what has the change been like? Um, can you describe to me what it's been like being inside James Sutliff since that day in May 2008, and just paint a picture of like where your mental health has taken you through fighting this, and why do you think?
So at the start, I found it so hard mentally because I had no answers, I had no direction, I felt lost. So over time, I knew I had to keep mentally strong to get to where I am now. So I've kept going and going, and and the first 5 years it was so mentally draining for me. Then I had the diagnosis that changed and how I am now and how I was then. My whole mindset, the, the mentality has changed so much, so much.
In what sense? How?
I'm so mentally stronger and mentally happier. Um, and for me, I have to, like I said before, look at other people and I know that people are a lot worse than me, that in my eyes, I am blessed. And that am
No, I love
blessed
that. I love that. You are blessed. In what
that,
way do you think you're blessed?
that I don't have a disorder that will kill me.
Mm.
I'm not gonna die. I'm very lucky. It's not going to kill me. So that's why I look back at my mother, she had cancer, she
Yeah.
had it late, she didn't die. I think I'm not gonna die, I'm not. So I'm very lucky and very blessed in what I have.
Fascinating. The psychology of disability is quite interesting, don't you think?
Yeah,
Because the most people you speak to, and I suppose this might be ignorance on the part of people um, who don't have a disability, but we perceive it, me included, have perceived it to be like extraordinary and amazing. Yet for you, this is normal life.
yeah.
Like, how do you deal with that?
How do I do with disability?
Yeah, exactly. So day to day life, whereby people, I mean, you're talking to people, and they might be like, what has happened there?"
I just, I just get on with it.
Yeah.
I, I know I have a disability, I know I'm unique, but I have to just get on with life. I can't let it control me. If I let my disability control me, it will kill me. End me. I have to take control as my own disability.
Mm. Mm. Wow. Um, with with disabilities, like where do you see the entire disability world moving to? Because there's been a lot of breakthroughs in various different treatments for disability, but the stigma attached to disability, I mean, you are right at the forefront of the, I suppose, the disability world, right? Like you're one of the leading people who's campaigning for various stigmas to be broken down and saying, look, I am a normal guy at the end of the day. I just happen to have I just have to have an ability to talk like properly, but that's something that you need to deal with and not me. Um, where do you see mental health within the disability world moving to? Because do you think it's a real problem?
Yeah. For me, I do think it is a real problem. I have witnessed it firsthand. I've seen mental health in in some of my clients as well as first timers
Mm,
have disabilities
mm,
and have tried to certify for every being an issue. Yeah.
mm. And like you said, you mentioned there that you've seen it firsthand within a lot of your clients.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, what do some of your clients go through? And I want to get for context. Actually, let's just dive into the Matt Hampson Foundation and you as a disability coach, because then maybe we can come onto the mental health with clients in a sec. So, yeah, different question. How did you get into? You've always been in the gym, right? Obviously, playing semi-professional rugby dictates that you have to be a certain size. But what made you move into disability coaching?
The health fitness helped me to overcome my own disability mentally and physically. I should rather do it as a career.
Mm.
People help me, I never learn to help other people like me, and yeah, and that's
You absolutely love it, right?
yeah, 10 minutes, yeah,
What do you love about it?
this interaction, the coaching, and changing their life, seeing the change in them mentally and physically.
Mm.
It is this, yeah,
See yourself is lighting up as you talk about it. It's lovely. It's extraordinary. But also it's a bit of an underreported world, right? Like you kind of assume that because people are disabled that they can't exercise or they might not want to do it. But you're seeing something different there.
yeah, a lot of them came to me, a lot of my private disabled clients came to me because they've had bad experiences from other coaches.
Really.
And then, oh, I can't be misinterpreted, sir. Me is that I have clients see me from quite far because they've been let down
In what
and
way?
but other coaches say, I have the mental health to help you as a coach. So,
Wow.
a lot of coaches are too scared to take on the responsibility in coaching disabled clients. To me, I don't care.
Yeah, because yeah, it's also who you are now. Like it's doesn't matter, does it to you? And the Matt Hampson Foundation, I obviously know it because I'm a massive rugby nose, and I know the for people watching, James is about to spit out his energy drink. um, but how did you get in contact with the Matt Hampson Foundation? You obviously live close, but they've built the Get Busy Living Centre, which is the most extraordinary place, and that's where you kind of work right now full time.
Yes, I work there and I have my own.
Private clients. Yeah. What's the Hambo Foundation been like for you? I mean, I can imagine it's extraordinary.
No, uh, I owe them so much. Hambo, I've known Hambo a long time. I knew Hambo before his injury, so
Oh, really?
that,
Wow.
yeah,
How long's that? That's over 10 years now.
a long time, yeah. So I owe them so much. They've given me a platform to go and to say what I can do, and it is an amazing place. It is amazing, amazing.
We touched on earlier how a number of your clients, obviously you've seen it firsthand yourself, but a number of your clients um struggle mentally. Like without naming names, but we associate mental health at the moment with like depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, um, uh, distinct negativity, but also it's such a problem nowadays. And in my opinion, and I'm sure you probably agree, it is the mental health pandemic that we're currently facing is going to be bigger than COVID-19, in my opinion. Firsthand, what have you seen, James? And how does it affect your clients? So how does, I suppose, disability affect the mental health of your clients?
Yeah, but I've learned that the younger ones who are born with a disability, they've suffered the most. Because,
They've suffered the most.
yeah, because when they're born with a disability, they have to go to school. And
Mm,
being a kid at a school having a disability is not the best time of our year.
no.
The believe, the lonely, yeah.
How does
That's
that affect you? How does that affect you?
hard. To me, I have sometimes when I'm doing work and you hear their issues at the end of the day, I sit down and I am mentally drained. It
Really?
actually, it mentally drains me. It was. I have to take on so much of everyone's issues at home, and so tired. It drains me.
But on the flip side of that, you've also, because you are such an extraordinary person doing the most amazing thing possible, you're also this kind of beacon of hope for a huge amount of people, right? Like, when we look at your Instagram and it's there to see, like, the comments of support. It's extraordinary. I look at it every day and I'm like, wow. But also, like, the clients you train, they have a trust in you, which they don't really trust many other people, probably bar really, really close family and maybe friends. So that having fostering that type of environment, like, how do you do it as a disability coach? Say you've got somebody who's struggling mentally, like, how do you go about fostering an environment that they can come and train in, whereby they feel open to talking to you about their deepest troubles?
So, listen, I give them the options that every session I put them, ask how they are, I ask them, how are you doing mentally, and then they tell me everything.
Really?
So, that's I'd rather them tell me if they're low, I'd rather them let them talk to me. But I'd like to have that connection with them. It makes them so safe talking to me because I get it, I understand it, and yeah, and I then let it out to me, then better than the act in their own head. It's better to talk about it than leave it in there.
I suddenly had a bit of an epiphany there, because you said, okay, well, the first thing I do is, how are you doing mentally, and it all pours out. But, like, we don't we don't do that if we don't have a disability. It's very rare you find somebody going, how are you doing mentally? But adding one simple word onto how are you doing? Why do you think how are you doing mentally works so well?
Because that's getting in deeper. You want to know everything. Then someone ask me how am I mentally. To me that means that if I have any issues, and this is out now. So that then there's it, it, it lets them know that they can let everything out in the open.
Mm. And what do you tend to hear? Like, are we talking like, okay, yeah, I'm really suffering. I might be suffering with depression. Like, is it a depression, anxiety related? Is it? I mean, I assume it's probably like image as well. It's just a tough world, isn't it?
It's mainly like the testing related. I do happen to suffer with anxiety.
You do.
So the
Do you suffer with anxiety?
some of my
Oh,
clients
right.
do. So if I have an anxiety attack, I know I can see it, and I know how to handle it.
Well, how do you handle it?
Keep talking, let him do it, and yeah, let be process go. And I've been seeing that happen a few times now. So
Really?
I've, I can see it happening. So
Really?
they go silent, head down, and then talk. So I just know. So
Did you I want you to for a moment like reflect back on your journey, right? You call this a blessing, which I can clearly see why it's a blessing because look, let's be honest, you had a good career before, or the makings of a good career before the disability happened, or that night in Maybank holiday. You were a good plumber earning good money, yet now you're earning a little bit less money. You don't have the materialism that you might have had as a plumber, but this purpose and this why that you have is so strong. It like it beams out of you all the time. It's like I'm just this big, inclusive, good looking bloke who is saying, "Come under my wing, and I'm going to take you very far in the disability world." Like when you reflect back on it, like how does it make you feel? Because in some cases, I imagine you're probably sat there thinking, saying, "Well, do you know what? I'm really glad it happened."
in a weird way, I am so glad that it did. It made me into this good person I am now. I, I, I don't, I don't resent it. I don't hate it. It actually made me. It made me into who I am now. I give hope to every who have so open about my own disability. This my dystonia have actually it made me into who I am now. I don't hate it. I don't regret it. I don't resent it. It, it is it is me. It's me. Yeah,
It's fantastic. Who do you think you'd be without it?
I don't know. I, I really don't know. I don't like to think like that. I think of how I am now, what I became, and that I do. I'm not a if person, I'm a now person.
I'm hoping there's going to be. This is your second ever podcast episode with anybody, so I'm extremely humbled that you've chosen the rut to appear on. Bar me begging you week in week out because I think you're so brilliant, but. It's your second podcast episode. There's going to be people listening to this who might have disabled children, who might know somebody who is disabled, but also who might want to sit here and kind of listen to how you deal week in, week out mentally with the disability. It sounds like it's not really a problem. But what advice do you give to okay, there's two questions here actually. Which is interesting. What advice would you give to James Sutliff 9 years ago? Sorry, when it was 2008, 12 years ago, when you started out on this journey? We'll start with that question first.
That's hard.
I'm paid to ask the hard questions, James.
That's hard.
Have you ever been asked that question?
I think then it's hard because I wasn't diagnosed it's kind of hard to give an answer because
What advice would you give to James Sutliff 12 years ago when he was starting out on this journey?
oh, oh, it's hard. So,
Mate, take your time and think. Honestly, take your time. I want to know the answers. Let me talk for a bit. Like, I want to know the answer to this, or at least get your opinion on this, because I think there's two different questions that could be asked here. What advice would you give to the James Sutliff 12 years ago starting out this journey? And then what advice would James Sutliff now give to people out there about how you can live a normal life? So, which is why I wanted to start with the one about you, because your own personal journey with your mental health, with the way your disability is perceived, not knowing for fucking ages about what on earth this was.
so if I, if I was giving my self advice 10 years ago, I say, don't lose hope, keep going, and keep in fact, share your story as much as you can, keep inspiring, don't let your disability control and live your life mentally. How about?
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Is it with the second question, therefore, which I'd ask, which is, what advice do you give to parents of disabled children out there? Like, I'm sure you get asked this quite a lot, but is it relatively similar?
It is if I'm giving any advice to a parent or a young adult or child with a disability, just don't give it hope, keep pushing, if you have any goals, any dreams, just go for them. Don't let your disability hold you back. Don't let anyone tell you that you cannot do anything because of your disability. It is down to you as a person who's unique to go follow your dreams, your goals, keep the hope, stay strong, stay determined, and don't let your disability determine you. You're the person who's in control of your life, your journey, your disability.
What an amazing answer. What an amazing answer. Does it take it out of you when you're talking?
Yeah,
Is it tiring?
at times, and yeah, but it
But
isn't it?
yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Um, I've got. We could probably go on for hours, but I imagine your jaw might fall off. And
I like it. I like it.
okay, um, what was I going to ask then? Oh yes, like what's been your biggest challenges in this 12-year process?
Coming to terms with my dystonia
Coming to terms with your dystonia.
and knowing that I might never get cured.
Mm.
That's a hard bit, but
Mm.
I'm over that now.
Okay. Well, stop. What? Stop. Stop there. How did you get over that?
Because I just came to terms. I came to terms with it. I had to. If I didn't come to terms with this, it was actually it beat me. I can't let it beat me. I can't. So I have to. I went to him to terms, accept it, and distance, and after.
Was there a process you went through to accept it or not? As in, well, I'm kind of interested in the psychology of it there because people who are like, well, just don't know how we can accept it.
It came. It took a long time. It took
It's just
really.
time.
Yeah. Since that certain thing, it's a long time. It didn't happen like that. It took years to accept it.
What were the low points like?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I never ever got too low. I have the death rise and the death notes to make sure that I never ever get that low. So yeah, I have to keep going. I mean, how I learned to accept it is that I, I always kept busy, like writing. I'm always on the go.
Mm,
Uh,
okay.
if I sit down and stop, I overthink it. So I have to keep active and busy. I have
Mm. For it sounds like you've got quite a few clients who come to you who are struggling with their mental health, right?
to.
On a regular basis. What do you tell them to do? Like, what would you say to somebody to improve things? And actually, this is one of my questions later in the quick fire question round that I've got for you, which I go through with everybody. So I hope you're ready for that. I purposely didn't tell you the questions in advance, but yeah, like somebody who's struggling, like, do you have any tricks for somebody? Do you is it just a matter of talking? Because obviously this podcast is all about getting men to talk, right?
I'm taking is the most important thing. It's talking. Talk. Talk to
Really?
me. Look, all after my clients is that every way you can text me or ring me any time of the night. So I give them that option that they can contact me any time.
Wow.
I have to because they need what I've learned, if they know they have that option, it makes them feel better. Yeah.
What do you think needs to change though in the mental health conversation within um within disability within the disabled world? Like, what needs to change? Because to be honest, I gotta apologize for my ignorance here. Like, I don't know too much about it, and that's my fault. But that's because I haven't been too exposed to it yet. I'm very very interested in how the mental health landscape looks like in the disability world and within disabled people, and what you think needs to change, Because from the outside world, I'd probably argue there's a huge amount needs to change, and it's not really spoken about that much.
I never got offered to have, I never had the option to have any like counselling. So I think there needs to be the counselling offers to the disabled guys a lot more. But I really hear much about it. It's offered to them. Mainly that I've had and when I search my clients and have an injury, get discharged from hospital, that's it, boom.
Really?
Yeah, I think there needs to be more of a mental health side offered to any disabled people.
You don't. So you were never offered counselling.
Yeah, I was never offered it, no, never.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? Why do you think that was?
Just,
Just didn't cross the GP or the neurologist's mind at the time.
yeah, less was shit. Let down.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Mentally, if you were to sum up your mentality, what would it be?
Nah,
Yeah.
so, so mentally, so, around.
And what does that look like when you say I'm mentally strong? Like what do you mean?
I mean, I have set anything thrown at me and having a bad day. I know how to overcome it. If anyone needs to talk to me, I can handle it. I'm not perfect. I know I know how to a really day, but I feel like if I get ill with, say, Hampson, I can take it. Do I handle it, I think.
It's amazing.
If I get ill with something new, and yeah, do I can take it.
It's extraordinary.
And is me, I'm a honest person. I say it how it is. I don't hold back. I don't lie. I am straight up front. I say how it is. I am so honest. I'm honest. I can't lie.
Does that makes you you?
Yeah. That's me. Yeah.
How do you think your wife would describe you?
Uh, strong-minded, determined. I had a heart of gold.
Yeah.
I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, she says, everything she says about me is good. She says to me that I'm her inspiration. So,
How does that feel?
amazing.
Yeah.
She's inspired me in business to have her own businesses. We are a good team.
Wow. That's amazing. I've got 5 questions for you to finish up. Because do you know what we've done? We've done an hour now. It's brilliant.
I've lived it. I've lived it.
It's great. It's great. Number one, what's your favorite book and why?
Oh.
Go get it. Right. For anybody listening, James has gone to get it. Oh, he's back.
It is the mindset manifesto.
The Mindset Manifesto.
That's the element.
What's it about? What's it about?
Mindset, positivity. That's
Change your life.
I had this conversation with my wife today, and minutes, and then you mentioned that book, and get it.
Okay, I'm gonna read it. I'll read it, and I'll let you know my thought. So it's all about. So why is it your favorite book?
I have read that book. That book actually made me set up the disability coaching.
Really?
It made me. I had the hallucinations that I had no confidence
Yeah.
in doing it. I read that book, and it changed. It changed.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a read.
It had the motivation manifesto.
The Motivation Manifesto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Declaration to Claim Your Personal Power. Who's it written by?
It's by Brendan.
Bouchard?
Yeah.
I love Brendan Bouchard. Okay. You know what? I think my mum might have that. She's big. She does his courses as well.
He is. Yeah.
I've got his. Have you got his high performance planner?
I did.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. To get a look at it, it's really good.
It's like the
Insane.
it changed my whole
Outlook on life. Yeah.
I found the secret. That's a good book.
Right.
The secret. That's it. Yeah.
Very nice. Question number two. What lesson have you learnt in your life that you know is true, but you kind of hate? We have another stumped. We stumped James again.
Sometimes you can't do everything.
Sometimes you can't do everything. That is it. We haven't. I don't think we've had that one before. That's really good.
With my hands, I can't do. My hands, they do affect me. And things. So yeah, that.
That's nice. I really like that. Number three, your friend who's having a tough time at the moment picks up the phone. He rings you and says he's having a really, really bad day today. What do you say?
Let's meet up.
Meet up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Question number four. When you're struggling with something, struggling with yourself, what's your go-to? What do you do to improve things?
Go train.
Train.
Yeah, I have to get out there. The active. Keep. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. A few people have said training is it's a
Yeah.
release. It's release for everyone, isn't it?
Training is so important. That's the issue. It is lockdown and gyms being closed is an absolute disaster.
Mm.
It closing gyms now is such a bad idea. It means for health. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Question number 5. You're lying on your deathbed looking back at your life. What are you most proud of?
uh, the what I do now.
In disability.
Yeah.
Yes.
The I'm doing now in coaching disabled clients,
Yeah.
changing their lives to better mental and physical. Yeah.
Amazing.
Uh,
James,
Every time I mention that I do, it gets me. I really can it.
fantastic. James, we've gone for an hour and 15 minutes, and
Yeah,
I cannot thank you enough for coming on.
yeah,
What a story. And I hope people listen to this and they're like, fuck, that is insane. Like, you just woke up one morning and you partially lost the ability to speak, and then the use of your parts of your hands. It is one of the most extraordinary stuff. I think what the most beautiful part of it, James, though, is your mentality and your ability to jump over obstacles when they come in your way. And that's rare, but it's learned over time through positive mindset and mentality. So thank you so much for coming on.
yeah. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of it. Uh, it means so much because you look past. I know I have a speech issue, but it's not totally off that. And I appreciate you in doing this. Thank you.
No, it's to be honest, I don't really care if people can't quite listen to it or can't quite hear it properly, because do you know what? It doesn't really matter. We have done an hour and 15 minutes where I could understand like 99% of what you're saying, so I'm sure everybody else can, and they're going to take so much from this. And
Okay.
so, yeah, I'm really proud of this episode.
It means a lot. The questions you ask actually spot on. It met me. Thank you.
Good. Well, when this is all over, we will go for a coffee. And I want to come up to the Get Busy Living Centre anyway. I just want to see
Yeah.
it. So we'll go for a coffee, and we'll have more of a chat. And yeah, thank you, James Sutliff, for coming on the rut. What a legend.